Yeah, so I watched Sick on Peacock. It's a slasher home invasion movie based on the idea of lockdown and COVID. A couple girls get the school locks down, and so they get sent home to shelter in place, and they end up going to the girl's dad's lake house to party, and home invasion happens, and all that kind of stuff. And it very much has the layer of COVID and paranoia and mask wearing and super spreaders and all that kind of stuff about it. It was a tough sell for me because I just, I watched it. I watched it despite of the COVID of it all, because I love slashers. I love Blumhouse. I love home invasion stories. I'm into that stuff. So I watched it despite the COVID of it all, and I gotta say, honestly, pretty satisfying. Having said that, it got me thinking on a level. At what point does the social scar that a movie is trying to address, when is that okay? When does that become an okay thing? We've had several different filmmaking versions attempts at making a COVID movie. We had Michael Bay's terrible COVID horror movie, which I didn't watch, and I don't feel bad about not watching it for all the reasons. I did watch Judd Apatow's comedy version, The Bubble, which, you could argue too soon, but also having watched it, it was just not good. So is that an example of it didn't work because of COVID, or does the example of it didn't work because Judd Apatow did what he's been doing lately, which is just falling on his face? Obviously both, but there was Steven Soderbergh did that movie with Lenny Kravitz's daughter, found sort of like a point of view thing on a phone. So we're gonna have more COVID movies. That's what I'm talking about. We're gonna have more movies. I'm not talking about movies that are shot during COVID, but are actually like in the universe of COVID. Because I do see a thing, especially in TV right now. Some shows are embracing that everybody has been wearing masks, and finally things are opening up, and references to COVID, that kind of thing. And a lot of shows, especially TV shows, is what I'm talking about. They just don't even bother addressing it because that's not the universe that they're working in. Which 9 times out of 10, I would choose probably the universe where COVID didn't exist, because what's the point? Because until we're past it, if you reference COVID in a TV show or a movie, it kind of becomes about that, because it is such a big social scar that we all sort of wear, and we all have our own version of the social scar, but it is very much a thing. Yeah, so we're gonna have more and more COVID movies. Too soon or not, at what point does a COVID movie work? And it got me thinking, like, historically, because Hollywood pushes out movies constantly about all sorts of things, other social scars in the zeitgeist and how Hollywood addressed it. I think the one that Hollywood is going to make a movie about forever, until we all have 10 limbs and speak 100 different languages instead of just Hollywood English. World War II. There's always World War II movies coming out from everybody, including Hollywood. There will never not be. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Some of them were at the time of World War II. What's his name made movies making fun of Hitler during the time of Hitler. Yeah. So, and did it work then? Does it work now? I don't know. But my question is, just not a question, but like moving on, like other things that have happened. I think the evolution of the World War II movie has gotten so far that we have Nazis in space, Nazis on the moon, Star Wars being my reference to Nazis in space, but we also have an entire 1980s B movie catalog of Nazis in X, or Nazis on the moon, Nazis underground, Nazis riding Tyrannosaurus Rexes, like that whole thing. But it got me thinking, like, sort of, I guess the other taboo, the other social scar that everybody's dealing with right now, very much an American thing, but it's a worldwide thing too, is school shootings at the risk of being demonetized. I was in 8th grade, 15 minutes away from Columbine when it happened, so that's where I'm at, just so we're clear, and so I'm very gun shy about watching anything about school shootings. Admittedly, there's been a lot of school shootings, and there's been a ramp up, and so a person who's 15 or 12 now has a completely different experience about school shootings than I do, and there's been school shooting movies attempted since basically Columbine, which was 24 years ago. I remember watching The Light Before Her Eyes, which is Uma Thurman, Evan Rachel Wood, And I liked it, but it was horrifying, and it definitely, triggered me because it was very much in reference to Columbine. I looked it up later. That movie was supposed to come out, and then there was a shooting that happened, and they didn't put that movie into theaters. Would that movie have done well in the world? I'd be surprised. Is it the too soon of it all? Maybe, but are people ready for a taut character story about a school shooting? I would point to last year's The Fallout with Jenna Ortega. I didn't watch it again. Columbine, don't have the stomach for it, but apparently it's a movie that proves the exception to the rule, which is it works. It's a taut, character-driven story focusing on the ramifications of a school shooting and not so much the school shooting itself, because the school shooting itself is just, it is what it is. And so The Fallout does seem to be a good example of a school shooting movie working. Does that mean there's going to be more school shooting movies? There will inevitably be more school shooting movies. Hopefully school shootings stop as an idea, but the movies will continue. At what point does a comedy school shooting movie happen? I say this coming from the comedy world, where there is no such thing as too soon. There is no such thing as too far. You try out the idea, you try out the idea, you try out the idea, and eventually you polish it into something that works. I don't think we're there yet with school shootings. I think we're certainly there for World War II. I would point to Tarantino did one. Again, what's his name did one while Hitler was still doing his thing. So yeah, but school shootings, I don't know. Even if I didn't have I'm not willing to watch it of it all for school shootings because of my own ness about it. I believe that there is a school shooting comedy that will work. That is well written. The jokes work. The understanding of the nuances of the context that works. Based on the fact that Judd Apatow did The Bubble, I don't think he's the one to do it. That's fine. He doesn't have that experience. His daughters probably have more experience about that than he does. Anyway, coming back to the COVID of it all. At what point does a COVID movie work? I think obviously, ignoring documentaries, because documentaries are documentaries, a tight, character-driven drama, understanding the nuances of the pandemic or the lockdown or just, something in reference to the social scar that is COVID-19, that's going to be the first one through the wall, just like The Fallout was, in my opinion, with Jenna Ortega. I keep referencing her because she is having a moment, but The Fallout does seem to be that for school shootings. When will that happen for COVID-19? I do not know. I would like to, in my lifetime, see a COVID-19 comedy that works, that fires on all cylinders, that even if it offends somebody, it's going to work for most everybody. I don't know when that's going to be. I hope it happens. I don't see myself being the person to do that, just because that seems like an awful lot of work against an awful lot of risk, where you could just make a regular comedy about regular things and not have to face the jeopardy of people trying to crucify you for talking about something that they're not ready to talk about. But I don't know. Is that progress? Is forcing people to talk about stuff that they're not willing to talk about progress? I don't know. I don't think that's me, because again, I like comedy to be a cathartic experience, not a experience that pushes me to question my values and question whether I'm willing to let go of some social scar like COVID-19 or school shootings. So I don't know. It was a weird thought. I thought I would just go for it and just shoot it down into camera. But what do you guys think? When is COVID-19 going to be such a thing that we chuckle about, that every year there's going to be a new COVID-19 movie and you're going to see the new star in it and you're going to be like, well, I could go see it because it looks fun, but also, am I willing to shell out the cash for the popcorn and the tickets for my kids and that kind of thing? I don't know. What do you guys think? Is there no such thing as too soon? Is too soon the golden rule? Like, share, subscribe, let me know. See ya.